Live from the SABC's Auckland Park studios. Welcome to this week's last edition of the Watchdog. My name is Vuyo Mvoko, and on the show this evening,
ngoba ingwenyama ngoba niyazi nje inamadodana namadodakazi amaningi.
It's all systems go for the coronation of the 9th king of the Zulu nation.
Madam Speaker, the offer on the table is the best interest of the fiscus and public service workers.
We also speak to the country's public sector unions about the point and impact of a nationwide mass protest that they are planning for Monday. We're also bringing an update on the Sandton terror alert. All that's coming up in tonight's program. The Watchdog starts now. Liphumile ilanga KwaZulu-Natal. That is the theme of tomorrow's big event, where President Cyril Ramaphosa will also hand over a certificate of recognition to King Misuzulu kaZwelithini in front of thousands of national and international visitors.
Prince Misuzulu Sinqobile Hlomesakhe Sihlangu Zulu was born in KwaHlabisa on the 23rd of September 1974. He is the eldest son of the late King kaZwelithini and his great wife, the late Regent Queen Mantfombi Dlamini. She was the daughter of the late Eswatini King Sobhuza. King Misuzulu has older and younger siblings from his father's 5 other wives. He moved to Eswatini with his mother at the age of 5, where he attended primary school. But his grandfather, King Sobhuza, wanted him to learn the isiZulu language and culture, and he returned to South Africa in 1985, and later matriculated from St. Charles College in Pietermaritzburg. In 1998, he received an Eswati Royal Family Scholarship, and he went to study in the USA for a degree in international relations. King Misuzulu ascended the throne in a sacred traditional ceremony performed in August this year, despite the ongoing succession battle in the royal family. Talking about his childhood, he says he didn't grow up knowing that he will be a king one day.
I did not think that one day I'll be king. My father had so many wives. I have so many brothers and sisters.
He says he was taught all the responsibilities young men learn of in rural areas and spend a lot of time in the field.
I know how to be a headman, and I know how to be in the mountains looking after my father's cattle and those of the nation. I'll be in the mountains eating amavinyo, amalogochani, amathunduluka, which are wild fruits.
He was also trained by Amabuto, which were known as Dagakusuta, a name given to the regiments by the late king. On his family life, he says his mother and father's disciplined but loving upbringing of their children has taught him respect for others.
I grew up under the teachings of love and family values, that you must always respect the elders. You must know them and they will know and respect you as a child. That means the road to the future is straight and forward. And no matter how hard is the situation, there's no other thing that surpasses respect.
In touching on social ills like gender-based violence, he says he wants to set up a platform which could give boys and young men the opportunity to become good and upstanding citizens.
You need to groom them at a young age. There is a foundation called Masikolo Foundation which helps build and restore dignity amongst individuals. Since we have the reed dance for maidens who are groomed, we should be doing the same for young men. We cannot groom our maidens for men who are not disciplined.
Referring to his personal life and his love for his wife, Queen Tokozo Kamayisela Zulu, he says he is happy that his mother approved of their relationship before she passed away. He also spoke about his siblings and that they share a love for sport. He said he played rugby before he was injured, while his brother preferred soccer.
I didn't play soccer. The person that played soccer is Prince Nhlanganiso from Gwadlamahlahla Palace, a person I respect and love.
He may like the game of rugby, but he says he's a staunch supporter of the AmaZulu Football Club. During the official coronation this weekend in Durban, President Cyril Ramaphosa will hand over the certificate of government's recognition of him as the AmaZulu monarch. Londi Khatebe, SABC News, Durban.
Joining us on the line from the Moses Mabhida Stadium, where it will all be happening tomorrow, please welcome cultural expert and retired African Studies lecturer, Ndela Njangase. Also joining us from Durban for this conversation is Zolani Mkiva, the General Secretary of the Congress of Traditional Leaders of South Africa, Contralesa. Babu Njangase, a lot has been said, of course, about what will be happening tomorrow. A lot of people highlighting the fact that President Cyril Ramaphosa will be presenting the king with a certificate. But this occasion is much bigger than that, isn't it?
Yes, good evening, viewer and the viewers. You're absolutely correct. Maybe to understand clearly what you want me to talk about, you remember, I think, the first part of the coronation happened in 20th August, where the king went into the kraal, wangena esibayeni. That is because it was a religious need under inkolo yesintu, where then he was reported to his ancestral spirit up to God, Umvelingangi, requesting that he may rule in terms of being clever and in terms of seeing that there is peace and stability and development of his people. That was the first leg. Tomorrow, it is formalities, I may put it like wordly formalities. Hence, we are mentioning the handing over of certificate by the President Cyril Ramaphosa. That is more of a country thing. Remember, our country has a constitution, and it is enshrined in the constitution that there will be ubukhosi in AmaZulu, etc., etc. So he is then doing that. Again, like I'm saying, the formalities, there will be load of amabuto, as you'll see them in Zulu, we say, ayobe viliela. So there will be singing and also doing ugusina and so forth. There will be also izimbongi. There will be also the artists, various artists singing, you name it, and so forth. There will be so many people, speakers will be speaking tomorrow. That is now finalizing the entering of the king in the 20th August, ungena esibayeni. Now this is the last one. It's a jubilant thing. Everybody will be happy. The Moses Mabhida Stadium will be full in its capacity. I want to tell you that there will be some other people who will be turned away. Others will be watching all the question over the screens, because it will be a happy day tomorrow.
Bob Mkiva, it's a moment to be proudly celebrated by all, and not just the Zulu nation, isn't it?
No, certainly an event like this is a national event. It is an event wherein all of us as the people of South Africa and people of Africa must come together, because this is an event which also signifies the restoration, the reacclamation, and the reaffirmation of the institution of traditional leadership in Africa as a custodian of our heritage, our history, our culture in general. So it is an event wherein we are mainstreaming the importance of the role, the functions, and the powers of traditional leaders in our society. So it is also an event where it's an event of celebration, in the sense that it communicates a message of our unity in diversity. It is for that reason that the kings and the queens in our country are regarded as national treasures. They are regarded as national symbols of who we are as a people culturally. And the fact that the head of state, the president, will be certifying the Zulu King, it means a lot to us, because historically, you will recall that the colonial powers never wanted to recognize the kings. They referred to them as chiefs and paramount chiefs. Now, in the post-colonial South Africa, we have ensured that we accord them the rightful title and the rightful status. And therefore, we are quite very much excited. And as Ubabunchanga has already indicated, all the rituals and other cultural nuances have already been performed. Culturally and traditionally, the king has already been coronated and installed. He is already in office from that sense. But tomorrow's event is an event wherein the national government of the country is actually mainstreaming this and cementing it in history to say, now that we are a free people as Africans, our symbols and our treasures should be at the center of the social fabric of our nation. And that is why, as Contralesa, we've made it very clear that all our cultural communities and all citizens of South Africa must come in their numbers to support this event of the certification of the king, because a king is a king of all South Africans, and a king is a king of all Africans. In this country, we have got a number of kings, and we recognize them as such, and we encourage that we must unite behind, because we are related by history, by blood, by experience, and by heritage. There are long-standing cultural relations between the kingdoms of Southern Africa, and therefore, that's why you will have the royalty of Swaziland coming here. But other kings from Zambia, from Zimbabwe, and from other neighboring states will be here to come and give their support, even from the East African communities of Tanzania, from Kenya, King Mumia Nabongo of Kenya will be here amongst other people. So I'm saying this is a sign that we must show as Africans that we are one people. We are here to salute the king, because it is a ceremony that happens once in a lifetime and also happens once in a generation. So this is a very, very important landmark in the history of our country. In year 3000, in year 4000, this will be a point of reference, and we must do everything we can to show the spirit of unity and the spirit of togetherness as Africans, and not be shy to say, this is our heritage, this is our culture, and this is our king.
Babunchanga Zolani Mkiva talks about the fact that tomorrow we should all be showing the unity. We of course know that the road that to this day has not been an easy one for the kingdom.
Absolutely correct. Ubaba osekhulumile just now. I agree with him 100%, all what he said, exactly. And more so, and now I'm answering your question, when you talk about the coronation of the king, it is a symbol of unifying all South Africans, not only all South Africans, also our neighboring country, not only our neighboring countries, the whole world in actual fact, for those who will be interested in all this. Why? It's because he is setting, and he is an example. He's going to be an exemplary person to indicate that it is possible to unite people in any country, as long as the king himself loves the people and the people who love also their king, as long as he's the king of peace, as long as he's the king of stability and the progress, all those things. If he's doing that, that is a sign of unification, if I may put it like that. Going further, you'll also remember that it has not been easy, like the Ubaba has just said, during the times of colonization, during the times of apartheid. The kingdom of various nations were not recognized. In actual fact, even the executive powers, they were stripped all those. But there are two things, or there are three things that they fail to nullify completely. That is the region of the people, the Sintu region that I'm talking about. And also the culture. People did not want to part 100% with their culture, as well as their languages, respective languages. So if the king then is coming into the throne, also the cultural aspect of it will also grow, and then the unity, and also the love and the togetherness, you name it, and so forth. That's what we are expecting is going to happen.
Omkiva, I mean, for many of us in South Africa, we've never seen the coronation of a king, a AmaZulu. What would be the significance of tomorrow's event, especially for young people?
Tomorrow's event will signify a benchmarking ceremony, in the sense that, as you say, in a new South Africa, this is the first Zulu king to be certificated and to be coronated. And he is the second king to be certificated by the new government after the late King kaZwelithini. So the significance of this is that we are setting a pattern on how we should be doing things going forward in a post-colonial South Africa. And we are happy with the decorum that has been shown by the state to put all hands on the deck to give an impetus that this event is as important as the inauguration of the president, for instance. So that's why we are saying we should come from all the corners of our country to support this event. That's how it is important, because it is an event that brings in a content of why the indigenous knowledge system is important as part of the decolonization mechanism of a new country. So this is an event where we must begin to learn and relearn some of the things that have been put in the margin of our society, and bring them in the center of the management of the national question. The role of the kings is a role of unifiers, of peacemakers. But more importantly, the kings are also expected to be in the forefront of championing the development of our communities. You must remember, Vuyo, that South Africa, like all other African countries, is predominantly a rural continent. And therefore, it is important that our planning must be in line with that, so that even rural areas can have basic services, can have good roads, can have proper electricity, can have proper connectivity. Because we are not about to leave our rural areas. We will never leave them. This is where our ancestors are. These are our sacred spaces, and these are our spiritual spaces. And this is where these kings reside together with their own people. It is therefore important that people must know that kings are not people who are sitting in the ivory tower. They are servants of the people. They must be torch bearers. They must be pioneers of social development and rural development, and ensure that they play a critical role in changing the lives of our people for the better. Therefore, this is what is expected of His Majesty King Misuzulu kaZulu. He will be playing that role. He is not going to be a ceremonial king. We don't want our kings to be reduced into ceremonial kings. They must take full responsibility. And we want to say the institution of traditional leadership has full capacity to ensure that it champions the development. And they must work harmoniously with the elected leaders and ensure that they give the much needed service to our people. That is what is important about this exercise. So it's a combination of mainstreaming the importance of our culture, but also service delivery in terms of improving the lives of our people.
Interesting, Babuntanga, what Mr. Mkiva is saying there, that this is not, kings shouldn't be kings in name only. You know, one wonders, I mean, as a scholar and historian, do you think we've been able, as a constitutional democracy, to really clarify what roles kings should actually play in a constitutional democracy?
Well, maybe let's start by, before you are saying what roles the kings should play, maybe let's start by saying what roles the kings have played during the colonization and apartheid, which was positive. You know, in the areas where they reign, mainly the rural areas, you will be my witness, there were schools built by those kings. And many of those schools were named after kings themselves. Latuma, you name them, and so forth, which is a positive thing. And also to maintain peace in their areas. It was them, like Babumkiva is saying, it was them, that's what they have done. They were looking at the development of the people, hence education mainly. If now, to answer your question, what is the role of the king in this democratic South Africa? Indeed, it is just like I have said, and going forward, is to see to it that the people themselves are not being harassed by any form of it, is to see to it that there is peace. There are no quarreling or fighting amongst the people they govern, is to see to it that also there is development. Let me outline, perhaps unpack the development I'm talking about. What is lacking in this South African democratic country? You see, the inventory. When we were growing up ourselves, we used to make things for ourselves. Let me start by toys. You know, we will take wire and make a motor car and make a bus, or you name it. That is a creativity that is lacking in our schools as we talk today. As we were growing up at the time, we used to go to the plantation fields, and then we will plant so that there is food, all those things. It is also lacking, in my view, at our present school. Agriculture, in my opinion, should have been #1 subject at schools so that people can plant themselves. If I go any further in terms of manufacturing, yes, it is lacking. We do have the so-called TVET colleges, you name it, and so forth. But I'm not aware of such where students will learn how to make cement. Cement is used by all people. But at our TVET colleges, universities, they are not teaching our children. So the kings one day are going to see that. Talk of in terms of a wheelbarrow. Wheelbarrow is just as simple. There's no, it is not a sophisticated thing, but I'm not aware at schools that our children are being taught how to make wheelbarrow. And we are relying on the kings. That should be the role of the kings as well, to shout and say, no, improve our education, so that the education given to our children will be the education that, having completed such education, they will be able to live out of that, not emphasize emphasize on some of the things that, in actual fact, if one has got that certificate or diploma in that subject, but only to find that they can't use it. So you are talking about that. And now I am happy because there is also a structure where Babu Mkiva is for it. They are the ones we hope that they will sit down. They have already started this to see what is lacking and so forth and so forth. And as in lastly, their role is to maintain peace in the whole country of South Africa. Thank you.
Mkiva, just, I mean, generally speaking, beyond what the symbolism and celebrations we are going to see tomorrow, what's the sense among traditional leaders around recognition and their place in this democracy?
I haven't heard you correctly there, Buyo. Can you just repeat that question?
I was saying, what's the sense among traditional leaders about their status, about recognition in this democracy? In other words, beyond the excitement and the celebrations and the symbolism we are going to see tomorrow, do traditional leaders feel that they are recognized in this democracy and they are occupying their rightful place?
No, yeah, you are correct. Beyond the celebration, remember that there are still matters that remain unresolved. One of those is the land question. When it comes to land, we believe that that issue of the realization of the full restoration of the land to the African majority is not something that will be done by politicians on their own. That matter needs to be strengthened and enriched by traditional leaders as custodians of land. And Condoleezza has been quite very vocal that we cannot sit on our laurels when we know that the majority of the land still remain in the hands of the few that had taken our land in a manner that was merciless, which was brutal against our people. And secondly, the kings must play a key role in ensuring that they exert pressure on the elected officials to ensure that they do the right thing in terms of the transferring of the wealth so that we can all share equitable to the wealth of our country. We believe, as Condoleezza, as normally our president says, that is the president of Condoleezza, Kgoshima Mukwena, that the wealth of this country is gigantic and colossal, and it can feed all of us in our millions. So therefore, the kings and traditional leaders in general ought to play that role of championing all of those things. So I'm trying to say, we also play a role of oversight in ensuring that those that are elected, they account to our communities in terms of what they are expected to do. From time to time, we meet with the elected leadership, and the kings do that in ensuring that they take forward some of the expectations of our people and articulate the aspirations of our people in their masses. So I am saying that, like I indicated, that kings are not only expected to be playing a ceremonial role, they are expected to be pioneers of development, including this issue of ensuring that the realization of the total emancipation of South Africa, they have to be in the front line. That's why the president, from time to time, he meets with the kings, he meets with the houses of traditional leaders. The king, as he is getting certificated tomorrow, he will find expression in the National House of Traditional Leaders by sending delegations, and those delegations are going to be part and parcel of the law-making exercise, so that all laws that resonate with his people are actually looked at in detail, so that they don't contradict our cultural outlook. We must have laws that we must ensure that they are in harmony with our cultural outlook as a people. So I am saying, therefore, that it's that representation, it's that law-making exercise, it's that oversight a function, and the championing of development, as it were.
Special thanks to both of you, Mr. Zolani Mkiva, who is the General Secretary of the Congress of Traditional Leaders of South Africa, Controlesa. Special thanks to you as well, Baba Njangase Ndela Njangase, who is a cultural expert and retired African Studies lecturer. Well, as excitement builds ahead of tomorrow's coronation of AmaZulu King Misuzulu kaZwelithini, the SABC found out from residents what they think the monarchy's role is. Many are hoping for a successful and peaceful reign, but most wanted the king to help address the country's socio-economic challenges.
Thousands of people are expected to attend the coronation event at the Mozambique Stadium. The 47-year-old King Misuzulu succeeds his father, the late King kaZwelithini kaBhekuzulu, who reigned for nearly 50 years. It's an event expected to provide a spectacle of traditional custom and ceremony. Some residents say the king has a big task ahead of him to strengthen the monarchy and to unify the nation.
We've been without the leader for some time now. I think it's a good thing that he's being officially coronated, and I wish he would follow the footsteps of the late king by taking care of the nation and be able to make sure that the House of Traditional Leaders have power and voice. I wish the new king to unite the AmaZulu so that we have the strong AmaZulu nation.
Most young residents hope that the king will focus on the youth and also address the high rate of unemployment among young people.
I wish to see the king assist the youth from rural areas where many of young people have talent and unemployed. He must assist them to be able to make a living through their talent, as many are educated but they don't have jobs.
Even though the king's role is merely ceremonial, he is regarded as having a strong moral influence over his subjects.
If he can get more involved in that, and we have more stability and growth in KZN, employment, very, very important, because unemployment is very, very high, okay? And then get involved in the running of KZN itself.
Some have called on the king, who is the custodian of vast tracts of land, to help develop rural areas.
He owns a lot of land and a lot of that, so he should also
share his wealth.
The succession battle have, however, divided the royal family. Two of King Misuzulu's brothers, Prince Smagade and Prince Buzabazi, have challenged his appointment. But some believe the king should be given a chance to rule.
His father, King kaZwelithini, is a good person. But this guy here, there's too much faction fighting. But if they should give the guy a chance to prove his worth. I mean, nobody knows his worth, as a ruler. So people should give the guy a chance, in all fairness, and then see from there. But, today people must live in harmony, and especially as a Zulu nation. They got history in this country.
And there are those who say they are excited to witness the historic event.
I was not around when the late king was coronated. As a born free, I'm looking forward to see how is this done. It will be a big day for me.
Many
expressed the hope that the king will, like his father, continue to observe cultural practices which has helped build national pride. Londe Khatem, SABC News, Durban.
The EFF and the SACP in KwaZulu-Natal say they will not be picketing or protesting against King Mswati III at the Mozambique Stadium at the coronation of King Misuzulu kaZwelithini. The two parties have been calling for a democratic government in Swaziland and do not recognize the rule of King Mswati. The EFF also doesn't recognize President Cyril Ramaphosa and has vowed to be a thorn in his presidency and disrupt him whenever he speaks in public.
The EFF and the South African Communist Party have called off any planned protests against King Mswati at the coronation of King Misuzulu kaZwelithini. Both parties say the coronation is not about them and politics, but about the Zulu nation. EFF Provincial Secretary Nkululeko Ngubane has called on party members to be on their best behavior and not to take any action against Ramaphosa and King Mswati.
As you would remember, the EFF has taken a position against Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, also the King of Eswatini. We don't recognize him as the rightful leader of Eswatini. We say democracy must prevail at Eswatini. However, as the economic freedom fighters, we are mindful of the event that will be taking place tomorrow. So we wouldn't want this thing to be about us as the EFF. But our stand, we still stand where we are, but this is not an EFF event. That is why we will be going there, the leadership, membership, and supporters, and just Africans in general will go there in our best behavior, will observe whatever that will be taking place there. We will not want this thing to be about the EFF and Mswati.
Communists have disputed allegations that the party will be protesting inside the stadium against King Mswati.
Our statement has been distorted to make people believe that the Communist Party in KwaZulu-Natal will be disrupting the most august and important function which all the people of KwaZulu-Natal are waiting for. We want to categorically indicate that there is no planned activity around the precinct of Moses Mabhida where there will be the coronation of King Misuzulu kaZwelithini, because ourselves as the SACP we shall be part of that particular critical moment of the people of KwaZulu-Natal.
DA leader John Steenhuisen says he hopes the Zulu nation will be united post the coronation of King Misuzulu kaZwelithini.
I believe that this is an opportunity for the Zulu nation to be united again, and for them to be able to, and for the king to be able to articulate particularly what the needs of the people here in KwaZulu-Natal are. And we hope he's going to be a unifying voice of the people here in KwaZulu-Natal, but also an advocate for good service delivery. A lot of his subjects now live in municipalities, and as you've said, some of them live under DA municipalities, and we hope he's going to be an advocate for good governance so that his citizens achieve service delivery, they get municipal services, and that there's development here in KwaZulu-Natal.
Political fanfare may also include the coming together of former President Jacob Zuma and President Ramaphosa and their supporters. The ANC in the province has called on its members not to heckle the sitting head of state. Samkele Masego, SABC News, Durban.
The coronation of King Misuzulu kaZwelithini, the 9th AmaZulu monarch, is not only a recognition of the traditional leadership of the AmaZulu nation, but it's also a celebration of culture and custom. A very important aspect of such an event will be the attention given to traditional dresses. SABC reporters J.D. Polsa and Fanele Mhlongo went shopping for some of the finest traditional outfits on offer.
It's no secret that King Misuzulu has a flair for fashion. He's just as comfortable in his formal designer's suits as he is in his traditional dress. He's often seen in animal skin chest coverings or imbata, and also dons a rare apron or ibeshu. As the custodian of AmaZulu culture, language and tradition, the king is seen to lead by example. Animal hide traders in Durban say they have been hard at work, as customers have already placed their orders for the coronation.
I'm calling on people who will be attending the coronation to dress up accordingly. Men and women should wear their appropriate attire. Sometimes people wear traditional wear that is not meant for their gender. An animal skin that is worn on the head is for men only, not women. A woman can only wear that umqhele if she is a sangoma. The traditional attire have some terms and conditions.
Beads are important accessories in most outfits and have a symbolic and significant meaning for AmaZulu women and maidens. Married women are expected to wear a black skirt of animal skin called isidwaba and hats known as isicholo. Virgins are expected to wear white beads, while women who are not married wear colorful beaded outfits.
Some customers do not know which beads and attire are suitable for them, so we guide them. Some women come asking for a skin that is worn by men on the head, and we advise them appropriately. There are other beads that are only worn by married women on the forehead, and it covers the eyes. That cannot be worn by just any woman.
Traditional clothing store owners say they hope sales will pick up before the end of the week.
We are optimistic that we will get more customers on the 11th hour. At the moment, it is quiet. We hope that more people will come on Friday.
Guests and spectators will play witness not only to a great historical event, but can also marvel at the cultural, fashionable ensembles.
Yes. Coronation fever's in the air. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
I'm ready. Are you ready? For SABC News,
I'm Fanny Mhlongo.
I'm JP Paulser, Durban.
To this now, the country's public sector unions are planning a nationwide protest come this Monday. Well, what is the point of this protest and what is it about and what should South Africans expect? I'm joined by Wahid Hussein, who is the General Secretary of the Health and Other Services Personnel Trade Union of South Africa, HOSPESA. Simon Hlongwane is the President of the Democratic Nursing Organization of South Africa, DENOSA. Good evening to both of you gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time. Why are you taking to the streets on Monday? Simon, let me start with you if I may.
Okay, good evening, Vuyo, and thank you for having us. Well, the protracted battle for fighting for decent wages for public servants continues. So we say aluta continua. As you have noticed that government has withdrawn the offer from the table of 3%. But when they are done in Parliament, now the Minister of Finance was negotiating with parliamentarians and saying he's going to give us the 3% by force or crook. However, one thing we know is that there is no agreement as things stands, and with that and knowing that they've withdrawn the offer, we're going ahead and we're resolute in our quest to fight for a better wage, but we are still on the 10% demand because the employer has withdrawn the 3% and they're only talking about it outside of the Public Service Sectoral Bargaining Council where they are supposed to negotiate with us. So we're going to conciliation on Monday because we have referred and invoked the dispute process and we are going to be under the conciliator. We're inviting the employer to come to the PSCBC on Monday with a mandate that gives them, that is going to make them give us our 10% because we will still fight for it because the deadlock has not disappeared just because they've addressed the parliament. It still remains and it will be conciliated upon. Is that we are going to have many other activities on the day. The demonstrations will be in all branches, employment, whether a hospital, police stations, wherever we're going to have those activities, including the picket at the PSCBC.
Ahead of Wednesday's budget speech, though, Simon, the acting public service and administration minister, who's also the labor minister, was at pains insisting that they have not withdrawn their offer.
Well, maybe the minister must wake up and begin to know what is happening at the PSCBC because all the time what happens at the PSCBC should be on the basis that he has given a mandate. What we know is that in a meeting where we officially rejected in majority the offer of 3%, where some have accepted among us, but majority, there was at that time a draft resolution which was circulating for more than 21 days. And according to the Constitution, there are two options if the draft resolution does not receive majority. Now, the employer had an option either to say they reopen negotiations on the same matter, or the second option was for them to make the resolution fall away. Officially, on the records and the minutes of the council, the employer reps have chosen an option of withdrawing because they chose that the draft resolution must fall away. For us, because we have only realized the 3% through what we call facilitation, it means they're going back to where they were before we even entered facilitation. As a result, that is the interpretation that says they have withdrawn the offer, but we still think he's at pains to explain because he knows it's his technical mistake of sleeping on duty, not knowing what is the best option out of the current situation that he was faced with.
Okay. Wahid, I mean, are you hopeful that the mediated process, I mean, Monday will yield a better result, given what the Minister of Finance said on Wednesday? And are you hopeful, or as hopeful as it seemed to be, that the mediated process going forward will indeed deliver the result for all parties?
Good evening to you, viewer, and good evening to your viewers. Monday's conciliation process is a process that we are embarking on because we have reached the deadline of the PSABC, the Public Service Coordinating Bargaining Council. We are not hopeful, really. I think the employer has made it quite clear in their presentations to Parliament and in the media. They've been negotiating in the media that this increase is going ahead unilaterally without an agreement with the unions. So we are not hopeful that the conciliation process is going to yield any results for us. And we more than likely are going to face the same position the other two unions which have already embarked on this process. We're probably going to get a certificate and embark on the next process, which is possible industrial action. The PSABC is the place to deal with this kind of thing, and we've reached a deadlock, and parties could not find each other. We've declared our disputes, and we're following the dispute resolution process at this point in time. So Monday's process is to see whether there is any movement from the employer. We know there won't be any, but it's a process that we have to go through in order to get our notice of industrial action strike, whether we embark on strike, protest action, picketing, etc. We have to, in terms of the Labour Relations Act, embark on this process. So Monday is critical for us as an organisation because. As HOSPERSA, we have members in the essential services, nurses, doctors, and allied categories employed in the Department of Health, and we have non-essential members as well in other departments. So it's critical that if we, and this is the mandate of our members, that they have rejected the offer, and we are not, entertaining any other, position at this point in time, unless the employer is able to table a better offer than the current one that's on the table. This is democracy, and this is how democracy plays out. Negotiations have been since the dawn of democracy. It's 27 years. This is not the first time the employer is negotiating with unions. However, this is one of the first time they've decided that they're going to unilaterally implement an increase. It's a sad day for democracy, for collective bargaining. And for the process that we've, the trust that we put in this type of process, the trust deficit between the employer of the 2018 agreement is deepening by this type of action. And we wish the employer will come to their senses and realize that it's going to destroy collective bargaining, and it's going to destroy the trust relationship with the unions even further. And
Wahid, I mean, if Monday doesn't yield any positive result, as far as you are concerned, what would that industrial action entail, and how is it going to affect people, at hospitals?
We understand that, with this type of process, there's going to be collateral damage, if you want to call it that. There's going to be consequences on both sides. The hospitals will, unfortunately be affected, and the clinics and wherever we have members will be affected by the rollout of whatever actions we decide to embark upon. Unfortunately, this is the process where it's a balance of power. If we allow this process to continue the way it is, and if we allow the employer to get away with this, it defeats the whole object of collective bargaining. And this could be the start of the end of unions, public sector unions in particular. So we cannot allow this process to continue the way it is, and we have to take a stand. Unfortunately, the communities that we serve will pay the price for this type of thing. And we're hoping that we don't get there. We remain optimistic that the employer will not allow the situation to become ungovernable in a sense that, service delivery, ultimately the people that we serve will be affected by what we do. So we're hoping that, there will be a process where it will force the employer to relook at the situation.
Simon, what form, on your part, what form will your protests take?
Well, the Monday and Tuesday on the dates of conciliation is the picketing all over. We're not having a march. We're just picketing at the points of PSABC as a council and the government departments, National Treasury, as well as the provincial departments as well, your health, and as well as the DPSA itself. So we're going to have several pickets. That includes pickets in the hospitals, in the branches, wherever we have public servants that are working out of that. It is our hope that the employer will come serious, because otherwise the workers have said, and it's very clear, that they only have the chains that are binding them to lose with whatever we do in this regard. So we're hoping they will come up with a positive way and coming to negotiate or coming to conciliate in good faith, because other than that, it means they're provoking the public servants in this regard. So we'll await whatever is the outcome of the conciliation, then we determine the way forward going forward in that regard. We just hope they won't be as arrogant as it were. So we're inviting both the Minister of Finance and the Minister of DPSA to stop negotiating in the media and come to the council, because that's the only place where they meet with the employees represented by the unions in this regard.
Gentlemen, let me thank both of you for your time this evening, and best of luck with going forward. And that, of course, was Simon Hlongwane, the president of the Democratic Nursing Organization of South Africa, DENOSA, and Wahid Hussein, who is the General Secretary of the Health and Other Services Personnel Trade Union of South Africa, and that's HOSPESA in short. To this now, the National Joint Operational and Intelligence Structure, or NATJOINTS, has given an assurance that it's not confirmed the veracity of any terror threats. It says the U.S. threat alert comes at a time when heightened law enforcement visibility and targeted operations are already in place as part of Safer Festive Season campaign, which began earlier this month. It says all hands are on deck, and law enforcement agencies have joined forces to ensure that all in the country are safe. The structure has also asked people not to share what it calls misleading information about terror attacks to avoid unnecessary panic. At the same time, Sandton City management says it's on high alert following that U.S. warning. Security has been beefed up in and around Sandton City, Nelson Mandela Square hotels, and the Sandton Convention Center. The U.S. Consulate General is located in Sandton. The U.S. Embassy has issued that warning, of course, as many of you will remember, regarding a possible terror attack at the weekend.
We South Africans have been through a lot, so I came here to do the Sandton Threat Challenge because I feel like we are still going through a lot, so we just need any reason to laugh because we see these things on TV. Come on, terrorists in South Africa, what does that even mean?
You never know with threats, you don't know if it's a hoax or if it's true. I guess how I feel about all this, I remember a few years back there was another threat like this about bombing. So, and that never happened. So I don't know if this is true. I don't know who they're trying to scare or what's happening. So I don't actually think it's true. I just think it's another threat to get people scared.
And that's our show for this evening. Thanks very much for watching. Do join us again on Monday. Have a great weekend and stay safe.